Who doesn't love chicken noodle soup? We all do. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna start from scratch. We're gonna make that broth, and from that broth we're gonna make 3 soups. Your classic chicken noodle, a Thai-inspired chicken and rice, and a Mexican-inspired chicken and lime soup. The most important part of any good soup is the stock. Always start off with a really good chicken. I have a chicken here from Olton's, free range. She's a big one. And of course the components that go into any good chicken stock: celery, carrots, onions, garlic. I put bay leaves and thyme, salt and pepper. So that would basically make a standard classic chicken broth that you would use for if you're making a risotto or if you're doing a chicken noodle soup or anything like that. But today we're gonna go a little bit crazy. If we're doing like a Thai-inspired soup like we're gonna do later, I would start with cilantro and use the stems because that's where all the flavor is. Green onions, ginger, or galangal. You can buy it frozen. I know here in Dartmouth at Union Mart they have it in their freezer. Kaffir lime leaves, which I absolutely love. Oh, they're so fragrant.
Are those fresh or are they dried?
You get them frozen. So again, go to look in the freezer section of Asian store or Indian store. And of course the Thai red chili, just for a little spice. We could take, again, the same base and then add cumin, coriander, allspice, and cinnamon. Lime juice, grapefruit juice, fresh grapefruit juice, and again, cilantro. And then we're gonna do more of like a Mexican lime and chicken soup. We're gonna take our chicken, I'm gonna put it into my pot. Cold water, always start with cold water. And
Why is that?
You don't wanna put, you wanna like bring it up to a boil. You don't wanna put hot water in there. It's kinda, I don't know. That's just the way that I was always taught. And then I'm basically just gonna like throw in my celery, my carrots, and I even put my onions with the skin on. And then we're just gonna let it like simmer for about, 2 to 3 hours until the chicken is cooked and the broth tastes really good. All right, so we've got our broth in the back. Of course, the magic of television. I already have some broth that I made yesterday. And we're gonna start with chicken noodle. For me, it's always gotta be classic. So it's gotta be like onions and celery, carrots. We're gonna use a fun pasta shape today. You can use any shape that you like. So I've got beautiful white and dark meat. I've got some thyme, and I still have a little bit more of my bay leaves.
Can you talk to us just a bit about how you pick your chicken?
So after they've like cooked it in the stock, I take it out. Often it will fall apart just from cooking for so long, but I use all the pieces of it. I do get a good amount of meat, especially like the chicken that we had. They were quite large.
But you just have to get in there with your hands. There's
no you're gonna get
clean
dirty.
way of doing it.
There's no easy, clean way of cleaning a chicken. You just gotta debone it. And you know what, if you don't use it all, you can freeze it, or you can turn it into chicken salad, or you can turn it into another soup. Like
and for those of you that may have missed it last week, we posted an episode about Renee's favorite tools. And spoiler alert, number 1 were her hands.
My beautiful hands. I'm gonna put a little bit of my onion in here. I'm just gonna throw in all of my celery. I'm gonna put in a little bit of thyme. There was some in the stock as well, but I'm gonna put some in. And yes, Doug, I'm actually taking it off of the stems.
Amazing.
I know. One of the most important things about making a soup, and I think I said this in the red lentil one, was you have to start with a really good base. So you have to sweat your vegetables. You cannot just take a really amazing stock that you've made and then just add vegetables and bring them to a boil. You have to actually like sweat them and bring all the flavors out and build those flavors. All right, so I'm sweating my onions, my celery, my carrots. You can even throw potatoes in here. I know it's starch and starch, but I actually like potatoes in there. And I'm gonna add a handful of the chicken that I already picked. Just give that a stir. And now I'm gonna add that beautiful, gorgeous broth that I made. And see, it's got a gorgeous color to it. And this isn't from roasting, this is literally just from like taking the time to cook it properly. In we go.
The color really is beautiful. And I mean, there is definitely a big difference between homemade chicken stock and stuff that you'd buy in a Tetra Pak at a grocery store.
Well, of course. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and then I'm gonna lower it to a simmer. I'm gonna cook it for about half an hour till the vegetables get soft, and then I'm gonna add my pasta and then just cook that until the pasta is ready. And then that's it. See
First soup down.
First soup down, on to the next. So our second soup today is gonna be something a little bit spicy and a little bit creamier. We're gonna do a Thai-inspired chicken soup with rice. So I've got sesame oil in my pot, and then I made my broth, and the aromatics that I had were ginger, galangal, lime leaves, Thai chili, lemongrass, ginger, cilantro stems. So I'm gonna add more ginger. So I've just got a nice piece of ginger that I've just chopped up. I'm gonna add that in there. And then I'm only using the white part of my green onion. And then I'm gonna save my greens for garnish for when we serve it. I'm gonna add another piece of the lemongrass, but I'm not gonna chop it up because I know, Doug, you find it tough. I often find it tough. But what I like to do is I like to soften it just by smashing it. And I'll cut it in half. And then I'll throw this in there, and that way we can pull it out after. Same with my lime leaves. I'm gonna add more lime leaves. It's like 2 or 3. They are edible, but they are tough, so I'm gonna just throw those in. They're easy to pull out. And then just like straight up basmati rice. And I like to saute mine before I add my stock.
So Renee, if you can't find some of these ingredients in the grocery store, like what do you suggest?
Well, we're lucky here in Dartmouth. There's a really amazing Asian store that just opened up called Union Mart, and I'm obsessed with it because I can't stop going in there and like finding ingredients that I've actually never seen before.
Ooh,
Thai chilies, and I'm gonna add a handful of chicken, and I'm gonna put in our chicken stock that we made. And the secret to this one is some coconut milk. Just gives it a really beautiful sort of like silky, smooth richness to the soup.
Do you use light coconut milk?
No, I just use
But it's light. Like I know some people are concerned about fat content in coconut milk. Is that really something that you care about or not?
There's sort of like the coconut cream, which is like the thick part, which you often will find at the top of a can. This is basically just straight up coconut milk, and as you can see, I had mine in the fridge, so it did solidify a little bit. But if you let it sit and you took off the fat, then you'd be left sort of like with a thinner, lighter coconut. And then instead of salt, I'm actually going to add a little bit of fish sauce. And you did say, Doug, warn people, a little goes a long way because it is quite salty, but it gives it that really nice umami in this soup.
Bit of funk almost.
A bit of funk, yeah. Yes. I know Zoe, I made her vinaigrette for her lunch with this, and it went all over her lunch bag, so she had a bit of a funk. And I'm just going to actually chop up some of my cilantro stems because that's where most of the flavor is. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to put just a little bit of lime juice. I'm going to do half now, and then I'm going to do half at the end. So all we want to do now is just set this aside, let it simmer until the rice is cooked, and then it's good to go. Our last soup is a Mexican-inspired lime and chicken soup. I read about it in Milk Street magazine, so this is sort of an adaptation of their soup. So what I'm doing is I'm starting off in my pan, just some canola oil. I'm going to add some sliced white onion to that. And remember, the stock for this one, we had added some cilantro stems, some lime, cumin, coriander, allspice, cinnamon. So I'm going to add my garlic in there. And I've chopped up some of my cilantro stems. Again, with the cilantro stems, yes, I know, but that's where all the flavor is. So I'm going to add some of that in there. I'm going to save my beautiful cilantro leaves to finish my soup. The cumin, the coriander, the allspice, and the cinnamon. Oh, can you smell that, Doug?
Yeah, it smells crazy. Like the house right now is out of control because we have 3 soups going at the same time, and my, taste buds are just going nuts here.
So all I want to do now is I want to saute these together so that the flavors come out from our spices, so that the onions and the garlic soften a little bit. I'm going to add my chicken, a little bit more, shred it, season it with a little bit of salt. Now I'm just going to add my chicken broth. I'm going to add a little bit of tomato. I'm just going to crush them with my hands and put them right in there. So basically, once I put my tomatoes in here, I'm going to let this simmer for about a half an hour to 45 minutes. And at the very end is when the secret comes. And I learned this in Milk Street magazine. They take the juice of a fresh grapefruit and a fresh lime, mix it together, and it mimics a fruit. I think it's called a lima or a lima, but it does make a really big difference in the soup. Let it simmer, and then we'll have lunch.
You get to come back and try 3 soups. So just make sure you stick around because I'm going to choose my favorite.
All right.
Three soups.
3 soups.
1 stock.
1 stock.
I'm going to go with the chicken noodle first.
Okay.
One of my all-time faves.
It's simple, it's delicious, the broth is really nice and rich.
It's great. And you really do notice a big difference with a homemade stock like this. I'm going in for the second one that we did.
Which was the Thai-inspired chicken and rice.
Yes. So this one is just beautiful to look at. Very different. Smells totally different. With the nice, lime and even the crispy shallots on top are delicious.
A little extra Thai chili for you. And you just ate a Thai chili.
Oh.
All right, well then maybe you should move on to the chicken and lime, Mexican chicken and lime. So I finished this one by mixing fresh grapefruit juice and lime juice together, and it just gives it a really beautiful brightness.
And the nice crunch of you get the tortilla chips in there,
on there
which is
too.
great.
I put a little avocado because I like avocado, and a little raw onion because I like that too.
3 totally different soups, and they're packing a major punch of flavor, but in 3 very different ways.
So it just goes to show how easy it is to take one base and then turn it into 3 things. So like when we did the master vinaigrette, you're taking one base and you're turning it into 3 completely different things.
And one of the things I've learned from Renee over the years is that's what cooking is all about. It's about those building blocks, and then you just keep adding more to your repertoire, but you still are having those foundational blocks in place with everything that you do.
Yeah, so next time you're looking for something to do on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, grab yourself a chicken, make some broth, and then pick one of these soups. There you go.
All right. Until the next time.
Eat your soup.
Have a great one, guys. We'll see you soon.